Oh, it's me?
Ali will have some questions for you as well, and then inshallah we'll open it up to the floor.
So, in your past talks, Lorna, you've mentioned about meeting the most holiest, most spiritual man alive today. Could you tell us a little about that?
I can only tell you a little.
Okay.
You know that.
I know that. What would you like to tell us?
I'm asking God to help me here.
For just one moment, sorry.
I think it's her earpiece.
Is she okay?
Is there any way to stop the okay.
Technical difficulties.
We're having some technical... Sorry about it.
Sayda's grandmother is having it translated live. And it's like the batteries are...
So
Are we good?
Lorna was about to tell us whatever she can tell us about the holiest man alive.
Again, the angel Michael, I will tell you just this little bit, told me that one day I would meet the holiest man alive, the most spiritual man in the world. And I never thought anything of it, really, because it's normal and natural. I kind of, I don't keep asking questions. I know you would all keep asking questions, but I don't, because I have learned right through my life that sometimes I ask questions and, God or the angels take no notice of what I've asked, but they talk about something else, and then years later they may bring back up the subject that I had asked about. But many, 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 many years passed, I don't know how many, and then one day it happened. I met him, and all as I can say is just pretend he walks in that door there. I knew in the distance that it was him. Michael, no angel had to tell me. God didn't have to say it. I knew. I just said, "Oh my God!" I just knew him, and he came over and we spoke for an hour. And the most astonishing thing is that he's Muslim. Like, to me that's, and I'm Catholic. He's Muslim, and he is a beautiful man. He's a beautiful man. But I can't tell you any more because it's not allowed.
But did you tell us who it was?
We're going to actually do the questions with everyone after. So we're.
But I'm just wondering, did you mention who it was?
No, because I'm not allowed to. Oh, I know who he is and all of that.
But we don't.
Okay,
that's all I'm asking.
Okay. So Lorna, in one of your books, you mention meeting a boy within whose soul an angel resides.
An
angel dwells. Is this the same man?
I'm not allowed to answer that question either, because even from the moment I was shown that young boy, I was told to pray for him all my life, for protection, that he would survive, and that's what I do. And I know you feel like screaming at me for not answering, but God has to allow things to unfold, and the world has to play their part as well. That means everyone, including myself. Okay.
Is there a message that you want to tell us as the Muslims in America? What is our role in particular? What would God and the angels want us to know that we don't already know?
What would they want us to do?
Right.
What would God and the angels want you to do? They want you to actually pray more, to reach out to each other, to join together, because you are all Muslims, you're all Islam, if I'm getting it right. I'm not very, very good at that, but you are many branches. And it's like even yourselves need to put difference aside and be one as well. It's like all your leaders or
Imams, yes.
imams, you know, come together. And I know you probably do, but you aren't united enough. You know, one day recently, I don't watch the TV a great amount or the news, but one day I was told to turn it on, and I turned to, I think it was Sky News, I don't know what news it was, and I was very delighted with what I saw and yet very saddened, because it was Libya, and the people there. Now I know a lot of Muslims and different branches and different religions, but they joined up together as one nation. And it's like, you need to do that as one nation as well. And all religions need to come under the one umbrella as one nation. I'm not as educated. I only can give the messages in the way God has given them to me, to yourselves.
Say that your turn.
One thing I am told to ask of you, and that is to pray for this man. I'm going to keep away from his age even, because for all I know, you could know him, because he is in the world. But you start to pray for him, because he needs your prayers as well, just as you need his.
Why does he need our prayers? Why is it so? Why do you emphasize that?
He needs your prayers. It is for, how can I say, it is for the path to be laid. I'm even doing part of it, but I can't do it on my own. Okay?
And in terms of the angels and God, what are their priorities for where we are again? I mean, what should we be emphasizing? You mentioned prayer. Are there other missions that we should be on?
Yes, to reach out, to open your doors, to welcome in other beliefs. You know, to not have your doors closed and say it's only yourselves, because it is the one God. It doesn't matter what religion you are, it is the one God, and that is very important to remember. You know, I'm Catholic, but I will talk to all religions, I will talk to all beliefs, because each and every one of you have a guardian angel, and you have a soul, and God is real. And I have never to this day seen any human being out there, any man, woman or child, and now I'm travelling around the world, without a guardian angel. It is the same God, we just call him different names. And I know if I had been allowed to pray, only for Jean dragging me away, I would have been down on my knees praying on that street, just so happy to pray together. And it didn't matter to me whether the men were standing on their heads or whether they were dancing or whatever way they were praying. When prayer is really done properly, you know, it is done from the soul and the heart, and you really mean it. Just that grace of light of God and the angels of prayer is just, I know if all of you saw what I see, we wouldn't be having wars, there would be no hungry child, there'd be nobody unemployed. You know, the world would be just so different. But it would be a wonderful world, and I know God has shown me many wonderful futures, but we all have to play our part. And you all have to play your part. I'm playing mine, God and the angels are playing theirs. And I know it's very hard to understand God as well, because, you know, maybe I tell you about the time I was in God's library. Again, God took my soul and had me there. Now again, I'll skip loads of it, but God's library is so massive. It's like, you know, the earth, we think the earth is big, but it was bigger than the earth. I couldn't put the size, and it was full of angels. But the other thing that God did was he had all religions there. He had imams there. He had, I don't know the name of all the different religions, but he had them all dressed, all those souls dressed in the clothes so that I could see and tell. And at one stage they were all searching for something, and I even saw Simon, Mark and Peter, but they're in my religion. I recognised them, but I recognised all the others too. And when God came down that spiral staircase, every angel there, every soul knew he was coming, and the excitement was just overwhelming, just overwhelming. And they weren't finding what God had asked them to find, and yet I knew what they were looking for, but I wasn't allowed to tell them. And in one stroke of God's hand, and I didn't understand, you have to remember at the time what happened, one stroke of his hand like this, he just did this, literally every angel vanished, every soul vanished, except Simon, Mark and Peter. And I was terrified and yet excited that I actually ran and hid behind this huge book. Now you can imagine then I could hide behind a huge book completely. And God could see me, and he said, Lorna, why are you hiding? And I said, because you're so big and strong and powerful and I'm so little, And yet I got a fright, and the angels told me that I thought God had destroyed them. I thought he had, eliminated them altogether. But I was told no, he hadn't. They were just gone somewhere else. But still I was scared, and my soul was so excited as well. I felt so much love from God. I did want to run to him, but yet I ran behind the book. And I know, and you would all do the same. You would run as well. You would, you would, and he reached out, and his hand was massive, and my hand was so tiny, and yet they fit into each other. I just wanted to share that little bit of that with you about God. About how loving and how caring he is. And yet how understanding. And in the end, they did find what was in the book. And one thing that God did, at one stage he picked me up in his arms. And it was when he done this that I realised that we are all children. You may think you're an adult, but I have to tell you, you're not, you're a child. We're all God's children. And remember, your soul is that little speck of light of God. I say little speck of light because God is so big. And yet that speck of light fills every single part of you. Okay?
Can you tell us a little bit more about the presence of light? You say you see a light of our guardian angels behind us, and you also talk about the light of God. Could you elaborate on light?
When I was maybe up to the age of 4, I used to see the guardian angel as physically as I'm seeing yourself, but it used to disorientate me, because when I would go out with my mom down the street and there'd be people, of course I would be, looking, because they're so beautiful and so enormous. They're right behind you 3 steps, and yet all around you. And what I was told that they were going to close it down to a beam of light that I would see. But that beam of light is your guardian angel. And on occasions, almost every day, someone's guardian angel opens, and sometimes more than one person. The light of the guardian angel opens up behind someone. But it's not for me to go over to them and say, I see your guardian angel. The guardian angel usually shows me something, or asks me to pray for that person, and that's what I do.
And do you see any angels in the room here, or anyone's guardian angel?
I see the light of everyone's guardian angel right behind of you. No light has opened up. I can't say to you it has when it hasn't. I have to be very, very truthful. But yes, I see other angels. They're actually all of the time moving and walking around, and they're quite tall.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see wings. You know, sometimes I would, and if a guardian angel allows me to see a wing, to me that is, I feel privileged, but I don't always see wings.
So one last question before we open it up to everybody else. Tell us a little bit more about your interactions with Gabriel, who we call Hazrat Jibreel, and Michael. What's unique about them?
The Archangel Gabriel. What's unique about the Archangel Gabriel? Well, I can only explain of him within my life. Sometimes he makes himself, okay, I'll share something with you. And I'm asking for permission as well. You know, on our way here, you know, when we had got to the train station where we were going for your car, how can I say this? And I'm just asking for permission. But you remember when we were walking along outside before we went to the lift?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was an angel so humanly standing on the far side of the track, just giving me encouragement for tonight, for being here, you know, and just gave me a smile and a wave and said it will be okay. And I'm kind of a bit shocked that you have brought up the angel Gabriel, the Archangel Gabriel, because that's exactly who it was. Mm-hmm. He was standing there, and that's why when I was in the lift and you were still kind of able to see out, or there was some section where we were up a bit higher, I was looking back down to see could I, you know, was he still there, or had he moved on? The angel Gabriel is a beautiful angel. He is like, I met him when I was a child. I didn't know he was an archangel, and when I was a child they never told me that. But the Archangel Michael, or Archangel Gabriel, he's like a book. I describe him as if, you know, he's binding of a book right down through him, and his eyes are just full of so much wisdom and knowledge. He is just, you know, an unbelievable angel. But actually tonight was the first time, and it's only dawning on me now, that he's actually appeared when there is no child. You know, the children that are very, very special, that God doesn't allow them to stay. And he's actually taken the name away, that I actually can't say it. The children that are born into the world, but God doesn't allow them to stay. He always has something physically wrong with them, some type of disease that they only grow to a certain age. And I know at times they're allowed to grow a little bit older, because once I met a young girl, but I know she's not here anymore. So actually I'm very surprised now myself that I saw him, and I didn't see what I call a glowing baby or a glowing child. It's the only way I can describe it. So I'm surprised. I'm actually in a bit of state of shock myself, unless there's one around here somewhere.
Because in your books you mention how whenever the angel Gabriel would appear, it would be as if there's like a moon of light coming towards you, and then
it is always like as if, you know, I have tried to describe it. It's like a doorway of light, and it's like the moon a million miles within that doorway of light is coming forward, you know, to the doorway. It's just me trying to describe it. And that's why I was shocked to have seen what I saw here, actually, tonight. To see that, and it is as he steps through it. Most of the time he will be dressed in what I always called a biker's clothes. You know, just ordinary in that way.
And does he always carry a book in his hand? Because you had mentioned that once he had a book and you asked him what is that book, he wouldn't answer.
No, he doesn't always have it in his hand, but he is like a book as well. That's what you have to remember. You know, he wouldn't answer, and he has never told me as of yet. But I have to say, he knew I was coming here tonight. Well, I know God knows I'm here tonight. You know, in that way. He never told me. No.
Okay. Seda, would you like to take questions?
Sure, we can open it up. We can
Yes.
open the floor up for questions. But before we do that, we just need